Hey everybody, welcome to an EduMatch special edition. So today we're going to be talking to Callie Womble. Very excited to have her here. So just if you're watching with us, feel free to interact with the YouTube live. We'll be checking the comments, and if you have questions for Callie, you can drop them in, or you can tweet them using the hashtag EduMatch. And speaking of EduMatch, then sign up to be Person of the Day at edumatch.org under the Get Connected tab. All right, so going to get right to it. So going to introduce our awesome guest. I had the pleasure of meeting Callie at AERA, and that was back in San Antonio in April. So we met there, and I mean, she just blew me away with everything that she's doing. So I asked her to be a guest on EduMatch, and she agreed. So super excited to have her here. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about Callie. So Callie's a trained public health and higher education professional skilled in research, teaching, administration, and consulting. Currently, she's a fourth-year PhD candidate in educational research and policy analysis with a specialization in higher education administration at North Carolina State University with an anticipated graduation date of May 2018. She is a Gates Millennium Scholar and a certified health education specialist. Outside of the university, she's an educational entrepreneur and has developed two organizations to serve scholars and professionals of color, the Life of a Scholar LLC and the Scholar Academy LLC. So Callie, welcome to EduMatch, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. I am so excited to be here. Thank you.
Oh, we're excited to have you. So just to get people familiar with you, then what's your background and who or what inspired you to go into higher ed administration?
Sure. So whenever someone asks me about my background, I normally tell them, I originated from humble beginnings. And so I'm originally from Durham, North Carolina, which is a city close to our state capital. And I consider myself a first-generation college graduate. So my dad graduated from community college, and my mom attended but didn't complete undergrad. And so growing up, I always knew that I was expected to go to college and expected to graduate from a four-year university, but I didn't have many people that I could look up to who had already gone that path before me. So growing up, I didn't really, know about higher ed administration. I didn't know it was a career path, but in undergrad, I was really involved on campus, and I kind of found myself in higher education. And I think that's kind of typical of folks who end up in higher ed. They didn't really plan it. You just kind of fall into it almost.
Absolutely. So kudos to you on being a candidate and successfully defending your proposal. You did that right before AERA, right?
Yes. Like actually the week leading up. So it was like, okay, AERA was my relaxed time at that. Even if folks can think of it that way. I had finished the big hurdle of some semester. So I was just enjoying the research and the relaxation of AERA.
Oh, there you go. R&R, research and relaxation. I love it.
Exactly.
Absolutely. So tell us a little bit about your dissertation topic and how it ties into your educational entrepreneurship.
Sure. So my dissertation is entitled Investigating Black Male Intersectionality, and the subtitle is Counter-Narratives of High-Achieving Black Male Engineering Undergraduates at a Southeastern predominantly white institution. So that's a mouthful, right? But basically, in education, we repeat deficit narratives a lot about students of color in STEM. For example, we say that minority students don't complete STEM degrees at the same rate as their white peers, right? And while the data shows that that's true, there's a growing body of research starting to look at the anti-deficit narratives or the stories of success. And there's a lot of research behind why it's important for us not to just look at what's not working, but also to look at what is working. And so that's really what my research is going to be focused on, looking at how being both Black and male shapes the academic success and lived experiences of these students. And I'm qualifying them as high achieving, and that's having a 3.0 cumulative GPA or higher. So there are students out there. Some people are like, oh, you're going to have trouble finding your participants. I haven't had trouble finding participants. There are a lot of students who fit this description. And so that just goes to show that we really need to look at some of those anti-deficit perspectives. And the second half of your question was how to tie into my educational entrepreneurship.
Yeah, that's it right there. How does it work with your two organizations that you founded?
Definitely, definitely. So my research really informs my entrepreneurship. And so, as I mentioned, we look at kind of those deficit narratives, and I'm really trying to look at the anti-deficit perspective. But I think there's something to be said about what's not working as well. And so, in my own lived experiences and what I've seen in the literature is that students of color may not always have the same resources as their white peers, especially in terms of like social capital. So having the right advice or having some tips or strategies on how to kind of navigate the system. And so I really created my organizations to fulfill that gap.
All right, I love it. So in terms of boosting social capital, okay, so you kind of talked to the inspiration for the life of a scholar, but how did it come about? Like, how did you get started with it? And tell us a little bit more about it as well, please.
Yeah, definitely. So a lot of times, reflecting back on my college experience, I felt as though everyone had a script, right? Like all these students had like this script on who to talk to or where to go if you have trouble and what to do. Like they had this script really, and I felt like I was freestyling as a first gen. I just felt like I was just the plan was to get to college. I was in college, but what else? What next, right? And so that really led to the inspiration behind it. I wanted to create an organization where, kind of the idea behind just because I went through X, Y, and Z doesn't mean the next generation has to. There should be a systematic way that we can kind of share what we've learned with others so that, each generation gets a little better, a little better. So that's like the whole inspiration behind it. But how it got started, really, it kind of started first as a hashtag, the hashtag life of a scholar. So, just putting that on social media and people are like, what is this life of a scholar? What's going on there? And I was like, okay, I might need to actually make this a little more formalized. And so then I created the LLC behind it so it could be an actual organization. And the first, I guess, major event or major endeavor that we had was a one-day college preparation success event, which was called the Scholar Academy. And then from there, it just kind of turned into its own thing, right? Where we started doing internships and people started volunteering and we started doing more events and it just kind of spun out from there. But at the core, it really just started as this one idea that I had. I was like, you know what? There should be a way to bring a community together around this idea. So we are Life of a Scholar. We are a consulting agency that blends academic and professional success with wellness. And so basically we just help students and professionals achieve their dreams while maintaining balance in their lives. And we provide advice, we provide support, we provide training, and our vision really is holistic development for scholars of color across the lifespan.
That is super cool. And I was really, really impressed when I went to your website and I saw that you had these core values that were listed there. Or I'm actually skipping forward. I was thinking about the dimensions of wellness, but we'll come back to the dimensions of wellness. But but what are the core values of your organization and why are these important?
Yeah, so we have four main core values. And so the first one is equity. And so basically what we mean by that is that we believe that all scholars should receive, fair treatment, including access to resources and opportunities. So that really goes back to what I was talking about with social capital, right? The second core value is excellence. And so we believe that all scholars should strive to be their best selves. And so sometimes people say, well, Callie, what is a scholar? How do you define it? Do you have to have a certain GPA or do you have to be in college or et cetera, et cetera? And really, we just define a scholar as someone who is striving to be their best self, someone who is striving for excellence. And so you can be a scholar whether you're in K-12, if you're, a college student, if you've already graduated, if you've never gone to college, it really doesn't, it's not dependent on your stage of education, but rather your mindset. And then our third value is holistic development. And so that really kind of, one of the things that inspired me to think about holistic development is my background in public health. So before I started my doctoral work, I earned my undergrad and master's degree in public health. And one concept that I found very fascinating was what you mentioned earlier, the 8 dimensions of wellness. And so just to kind of give people a quick snapshot, sometimes when we think about wellness, we think about, physical wellness, right? So eating healthy, exercising, doing all those things. And while they're really important, there are other ways to really live our best lives and be well. So, spiritual wellness, how do you make meaning of your purpose, or financial wellness, right? Or even environmental wellness. So there's lots of different ways to be well. And so when I say holistic development, we really believe that all scholars should be growing within those 8 dimensions of wellness. So that's how we define it. And then our final value is community outreach. And so we believe that all scholars should be actively involved in helping the larger community advance. And that's really why we were founded, right? That we want to kind of pay it forward, things that we have learned, things that we have gained, things that we have grown from. We want to share that with other people so that as a community, we all can be better.
I love that. I love the community coming together and everyone just, being their best selves, together. That is a very, very powerful thing. So I want to go back to a couple of things that you said that were just extremely powerful for me. So you talked about how a scholar can be, it's not defined by your formal education experience, it's a state of mind. So why is lifelong learning important to you?
Definitely. Lifelong learning is something that was instilled in me from a very early age. And so, as I mentioned, I consider myself to be a first-generation college graduate, but that doesn't mean that I was the only learner in my family, right? And so my family has valued education for generations. The idea of knowledge being power and being able to uplift your community with what you know and how you can help others, right? And so it's really interesting because when I was actually thinking about this earlier today about, what does it mean to be a lifelong learner? I think it means different things for different people. But at the end of the day, I think we all can agree that being a lifelong learner can advance our quality of life. And so it's not just about, to earn a certification or a degree, while those things, might be important to you. But at the end of the day, you can engage more meaningfully with the world around you when you're intellectually curious, when you want to learn more, when you're helping others to learn more as well. So I think when we think about it in more of a broader picture, while it is important in our systems of education, it can just be, make your life more fun and more meaningful when you're really engaging with the world around you.
Oh yeah, totally, totally. So it's all about learning together. It's all about teaching one another. I love that. I love that. All right. So you talked about the 8 dimensions of wellness. So how do you support scholars in these areas? Like, what do y'all do at the Life of a Scholar that that supports people in the 8 dimensions of wellness?
Definitely. Well, one thing that we do is that we offer consultations for organizations who want to incorporate these aspects into their curriculums. So sometimes people will say, well, yeah, these 8 dimensions, that's really cool, but what do they really mean? How can we use them in practice? How can our, camp, how can our organization, how can our staff even, implement this in our daily practice? And so we offer consultations for organizations for that. But we also do individual and group coaching with our scholars to help them grow in these areas. And this is probably one of the most fun parts of what I think we do, because we get to make some really lasting and meaningful relationships with our coaching clients. And so if someone comes to us and says, hey, I really want to grow more in occupational wellness, which is all about being personally satisfied and enriched by your work. So we can really work with them and provide them with different assessments, provide them with some different activities, give them some different goals, talk to them together, and really help them move from where they are to where they want to be. And so that's like one example. Something else that we do with these 8 dimensions of wellness, that we provide training programs through the Scholar Academy that focus on these specific aspects of wellness. And so whether they're in-person workshops or online webinars or teleconferences, etc., we really try to use the 8 dimensions of wellness as like our conceptual framework. And so whatever we do, we try to make sure that it maps back on so that folks can really be developing holistically.
I love that. Okay, that is fantastic. That is fantastic. So I've been hearing you say community several times. So in
Yeah.
terms of community outreach, then you said that that is one thing that your organization does. So could you tell us a little bit about your outreach initiatives and how people can get involved with those?
Definitely. So we have three main outreach initiatives here at Life of a Scholar. The first is our ambassador program, and so our LOAS, or that's like the acronyms, the affectionately known as ambassador program, is designed for individuals who really want to volunteer their time and their talents toward our pursuit of equity, excellence, holistic development, and community outreach. And so ambassadors can be located anywhere in the US. They just have to be able to utilize social media, and they attend two of our events, whether they're in person or online or virtual events. And they have a lot of different benefits. So, for example, they receive complimentary and discounted consulting services, they earn volunteer hours, and they also get a certificate upon completion. So that's our first outreach program. Our second program is our Scholar Activist Internship and Fellowship Program. And it was initially designed to give high school, undergraduate, and graduate students of color, as well as recent graduates, an opportunity to further develop their leadership and critical thinking skills and provide them with real world experience to be competitive in today's job market. So as you all might be familiar with, sometimes our scholars can graduate from high school or college and really want a particular job, but they don't have the tangible or the transferable skills to really, do well in those positions. And so we really wanted to kind of combat that by giving them an opportunity to gain some of those skills in a safe environment where they can, if you have, an error or a mistake, it's a learning process, and it's in more of a safe environment versus your first job, right? And so since launching that in 2015, the program has actually expanded to provide research fellowships and professional development opportunities for scholars across the lifespan. So not just our K-12 and collegiate scholars, but also our continuing studies scholars have participated as well. So that's been really a great way for scholars to be mentored by myself, as well as develop relationships with the cohort of their peers. And then finally, we have our scholarship program, which is actually named after my late maternal grandmother. So it's called the Pearline W. Cole Scholarship Program. And as a matriarch in my family, my grandmother Pearl was always an advocate for education and for helping others. And so this program consists of earning a financial scholarship for college, as well as participating in a mentorship program. And so we're actually launching this. We're actually in the process of launching the program right now. So we're actually fundraising for the scholarships. But the scholarship will be granted to low-income racial minority students who demonstrate the ability to persevere through adversity and demonstrate the desire to give back to their community. And high school seniors, as well as current undergraduate students, will be eligible. So if you're interested, definitely stay tuned, and you can definitely get connected with us if you're interested in donating or if you're interested in applying for those scholarships.
That is awesome. You are just, oh my goodness, just doing so much. So that is that is amazing. So congratulations to you on all of your success, and really looking forward to everything that's coming down the line. Really quickly, just wanted to give a shout out to the people who are chiming in on the comments on YouTube Live. So shout out to Valerie and to Renee and to Rochelle and to Kim, who's trying to come in. So, and Rochelle was saying that she loved your answer. I believe the one about the lifelong learning. So,
Thank you.
absolutely. So, all right. So you also have another initiative that you run, the Scholar Academy. So, could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, I can. So the Scholar Academy began as the first event actually for the Life of a Scholar. And so it was a one-day college preparation and success event where I invited different speakers to come out and really help high school students and their parents learn about applying to college and being successful in college and beyond. So it was a free one-day event. All they had to do was register. We provided lunch and materials and just really a lot of encouragement for students to say, hey, you can do this. Here's some people who've actually gone the path before you. And hey, here's some tips and strategies to help you out along the way. So that's how it really started out. And after that one event, everyone was like, hey, what are you going to do next? And, we hadn't even thought that far in advance. So it became really the educational arm of the Life of a Scholar. And so we host in-person and online workshops, trainings, and courses to really teach scholar strategies for success. So some examples of the programs that we've done so far are Mentorship Matters, Finding, Developing, and Maintaining Mentors, Working Smarter in 2017, The Key to Achieving All Your Goals, Stress Management One-on-One, How to Maintain and Balance in Your Life, College Admissions Decisions, Choosing the Right College for You, and Going to College for Free, Writing Award-Winning Scholarship Essays. And we still host that one-day event. We actually turned it into a conference where we partner with other local organizations that have similar missions to us. And so this year, the conference will be on Saturday, November the 18th, 2017. And it's still going to be free.
Oh, free. That is our favorite word in EduMatch. So
that's our favorite
awesome.
word. So
Yes.
we want to make sure that's accessible to everyone.
Absolutely. So that's in North Carolina? So is that?
Yes. So it'll be in North Carolina, and we're still pinning down a location right now. It'll be in the RTP area, or the Research Triangle Park area, and I'm about 99% sure it'll be in Chapel Hill, but we're still pinning down that location. So we'll definitely be updating people through our free newsletter once we get that venue locked in.
All right, that is awesome. And I saw the place to sign up on your website. So absolutely. So the question after next, and I'm going to ask you about how to get in touch with you online. But first, I have a question of the hour that has been hotly kind of debated, and definitely we've examined this from multiple angles. But how can K-12 educators and higher ed personnel work together to support students of all ages?
This is definitely the question of the hour. And I think we all, whether you're K-12, whether you're higher ed, whether you're a student, faculty, staff, like we've all thought it, right? Like, how do we really bridge the gap? How do we make these two worlds meet? And I think the first step, even though it might sound cliche and it might sound super simplistic, really is opening the lines of communication. I think that we tend to sit with our friends in education. And what I mean by that is that, all the higher ed folks, we tend to go to our own conferences, and we tend to, publish in our own publications, and we tend to, cite ourselves and, that kind of thing. And then K-12 folks tend to go to their own conferences and, so on and so forth. And so while it's important for us to build capacity within our own individual units, I also think we need to be more intentional about engaging across those aisles, right? And so this might look different for different people, but I definitely think it's a worthwhile endeavor. For example, this podcast is a wonderful opportunity and a wonderful example of engaging folks from all different sectors of education, right? And so it's not just a higher ed focused podcast or a tech ed, or, everyone can really engage in this dialogue. Another thing I thought about was, how we met at AERA, right? That one, it's a huge conference anyway. But two, everyone goes to AERA. It's not like a higher ed or K-12 or a literacy ed, conference. We all go to it. And it might not be feasible for everyone to go to a huge conference. But at the same time, we can think about ways that maybe we can virtually connect using social media and using, Facebook groups and going live on different social media channels, and just thinking about ways that we can be more intentional about making those connections. Because when we do have these conversations about what our students need, it can help faculty, students, and staff and community organizations really support our students better. So I really think step one is just making those connections and being really intentional. And it's hard to do. The semester's about to start back up. Like, I know we're all super busy, and the last thing folks want is an extra thing on their to-do list. So I get it. I definitely get it. But at the same time, if we could just carve out a little time to make those connections, I think it'll be worthwhile.
Oh yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think that that crossover through social media, like you're saying, that's extremely powerful. I know there's a Twitter chat, teacher ed chat, that
Yeah.
is just like, you know, a great one where I see all kinds of people just kind of coming together. So that is super cool. Well, really want to appreciate, or really want to thank you for coming on the show. Appreciate
Oh,
you for that.
thanks.
Yeah, thank
Thank
you.
you so much for having me. This has been so much fun. I mean, I feel like I can talk to you forever. And I'm sure we're going to have more conversations on and off air, but this has been such, well, what you're doing, let me appreciate you real quick. What you're doing is so amazing. I mean, the fact that I know you're crazy busy with all professional roles and the different hats that you wear, the fact that you're putting on this amazing opportunity and sharing it with the world, definitely should be commended. So thank you for inviting me on your platform.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much for joining. Like you just I mean, I just love learning from you. So this is amazing. So thank you. And how can people get a hold of you if they want to learn more about you or the life of a scholar or the Scholar Academy?
Definitely. Well, we just talked about social media, and I am avid on social media channels. You can find me at Callie C Womble, pretty much on any social media channel there is. So that's just my name, Callie C Womble. You can also connect with me on my website, which is calliecwomble.com. And if you want more specific information about the life of a scholar, you can check out thelifeofascholar.org. And the Life of a Scholar is also on Instagram as the Life of a Scholar and on Twitter as the_scholar life. And then we're also on Facebook as the Life of a Scholar. So you can just check out any of those social media channels, and we will definitely get back after you. And we like to follow back, so follow us, and we will connect with you on there.
That is awesome. Well, thank you again, Callie, and much success, like much continued success, I should say, because you've
Oh,
already
thank
been.
you. Same to you. Same to you. Much continued success.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you. And thank you to everyone who was following along with us, and also for people who will be tuning in asynchronously. Thank you as well for your viewership. So reach out to Callie if you'd like to connect. And if you want to connect with EduMatch, then, you know, we're on Twitter, edu_match. You can go to our website, edumatch.org. Shout out to the edsquad.org and just check that out to see what we have going on this week. So everybody have a wonderful week, and thanks for tuning in.